Alright, so Jasmine's definitely not looking too hot here. In my previous video, I mentioned that if we broke below the 618, we could very well find a move down to the 786, but I realized in that video I didn't have my fib retracement on the log scale, but it doesn't really matter because the 618 and the 786 are pretty much in the same spot as the 0.5 as well as the 618 when you turn on the fib level. So really, I mean, it didn't change the analysis a whole lot, as you can see here. We still made a move all the way down to this 1.8 cents region. But yeah, right now you can see that we're trying to find support at the golden pocket, although it's not looking that great considering that when we have wick down here to touch it, we didn't even manage to get a green candle to the upside. Now, considering that this has been going down for pretty much a month straight, I do expect somewhat of a bounce relatively soon, whether it be 2% or 100%, I expect at least somewhat of a relief from this. And like I mentioned in my previous video, we could very well come back down to this previous low again and set somewhat of a double bottom pattern here. But, again, it isn't the worst thing in the world, but it is if you're a trader, if you're an investor, and we do get a W bottom here. You could very well see a new move to the upside. But, as mentioned before, the Ichimoku cloud as well as this red box have really given this some downward pressure, which isn't great, especially if we manage to find support here, we could very well get rejected off the cloud again. You can also see that the EMA spread is widening, so if we manage to really only consolidate around the 618 and this starts to catch up with the price action, we could very well reject off of it, which again would probably send us back down to this low. So if we do manage to break the 618 to the downside, I probably wouldn't be surprised if we just blew through the 786 as well, especially considering that the support the 618 is trying to give here is extremely weak in my opinion. If you take a look at the 4-hourly, you can see that we broke bearish out of the 200 EMA as well as the Ichimoku cloud, and we tried our hardest to break back through it, but the spread caught up with the price action. The 200 EMA was also offering resistance at this point, as well as the bottom of the screen Ichimoku cloud, so it's pretty much game over from there. Another thing that's kind of concerning is we haven't really tested the EMA spread all that much throughout this range. I don't even know if you could call this a test, but usually, especially on the longer time frames, we usually don't test this just once and then break through it. We usually see something like this a couple times throughout the downward move or the upward move, depending on, if this is bullish or bearish, before we eventually break through it. Rarely ever do we just stay below it and then all of a sudden blow through it. Take a look at the RSI on the 4-hourly chart, and you actually see something pretty interesting happening here. We have a uptrending level of support on the RSI, which is causing us to have higher lows, whereas the price action actually has a downtrending level of support, causing us to have lower lows. So this is called bullish RSI divergence. I've noticed that the RSI divergence works best on the longer time frames, such as the daily, 4-day, weekly. I've noticed on these smaller time frames, a lot of time the RSI will actually form what looks like bullish RSI divergence, but it's actually just resetting the RSI for another move downward. But it's definitely something to keep in mind, as these are usually bullish patterns here. Really not much has changed other than me messing up how I've drawn the fib retracement with the logarithmic scale, but like I said, it doesn't really matter because the 618 was here and the 786 was here, so the levels are pretty much exactly the same. But as I mentioned in my previous video, if we break much below 0.018 cents, a move back down to this previous low is likely on the table. And again, double bottom pattern here would probably be the best thing for it, as it could provide the necessary liquidity to have a move further to the upside. And if we do manage to find support at the 618, again, we're probably going to need to break at least into the Ichimoku cloud as well as this previous high back here, so that way we can see a continuation of this uptrend. So this is all I have for JASMY today. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like button. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do so, as I try to post content daily. As always, this isn't financial advice, and I'll see you in the next one.